Hockey Nation friends, welcome back to the Hockey Nation live show early edition with Coach Francis directly from the booth. And of course, we have to go all the way from the east to the west coast to find our co-host, the man of the planet right now, Michael Devellano.
I will try to live up to that introduction.
Here we go, because we have a lot of things going on. First of all,
there actually are.
With happy Thanksgiving, Michael, and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you.
Every single day, and bring the love of your heart every day with hockey for all the fans of Hockey Nation Live Show.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there, even if you're in Canada.
I appreciate that. Let's start with that breaking news around the league, and we have a couple happening yesterday in NHL. And let's start with you have the choice: Islanders or Tampa.
Let's go Tampa.
Tampa Bay Lightning signed the RFA, the young 22 years old, one of the all-star players in NHL, under 25 years old. Pretty sure is going to be one of the top defensemen, maybe a possible to win the trophy, the Norris Trophy one day. Sergei Sergachev signed a 3-year contract at $14.4 million, AAV of $4.8 million, but his contract is different on three different, where is a 2.2, 4.8, $7.2 million on year 1, 2, and 3. Last season in 70 games, he scored 10 goals, 24 assists, 34 points. During the playoff run, he played 25 games, he had 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. He was the 9th overall pick by who?
Montreal
Canadiens in 2016, got traded 2 years ago against Jonathan Durant. Honestly, many think Tampa win. But at the end of the day, during that time, Montreal was looking for the winger. And I'll be honest with you, Michael. I believe the reason what Montreal trade Sergachev is because of Alex Galchenyuk. Because the expectation of Galchenyuk never reached after his season at 30 goal one time with Montreal. Montreal was looking desperate to find a center or a winger. And that's the reason why they have to trade for Jonathan Durant, where did not point the level he was supposed to expect. But still, he's only, we forgot, Durant is only 25 years old.
Yeah, I think what you see in Durant is a lot what you see in Galchenyuk that holds him back. He's just an individualistic player. He's got a weird attitude, which was the problem with him in Tampa. And he doesn't, for a talented player, he doesn't play with other players very well. A lot of plays die on his stick.
At the end of the day, he cannot finish a lot of times. I agree with you. I think you bring a great point here.
He can't finish when you're trying to stick handle through 12 players.
I always said, when you go around the ref, you're going to have a rough time to score.
So brutal.
But again, I think we have to give him, we have to be patient with him. But again, if I ask you,
I think the writing's on the wall there, but
again, if you know hockey, many years, you recruit a lot of players, so you check a lot of players. If I said to you, what your expectation of Jonathan Durant on the points per year, what it will be the number?
Like when? Now?
Yeah, like usually, what do you expect from him? He should produce every point, what he's supposed to be, or what do you expect from him to be now for the next 5 years?
I mean, I don't see any uptick in those numbers. I think he's a 55-point player.
Yep.
And that's fine. But the problem is what happens on the ice, because he's playing prime minutes and he turns over the puck because he's trying to do everything himself. He actually doesn't see the ice very well. It's kind of shocking. It's like, I don't know if it comes across he doesn't care, which he probably doesn't.
But, I always said that to you. First of all, I think you're good. I think 50 point is a good. When you reach 16 plus, I believe it's a great year. If he gets 70, this is awesome. Here's sometimes happening is we targeting the player with which pick draft he got picked. Like, he's a 3 overall pick, I believe, if I remember. Could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
McKinnon went first and he was third. And he played in Halifax and they won the Memorial Cup.
Many times we associate the pick number with the players. Secondly,
sure,
yes, you scout, you are in the WHL. Sometimes players produce because with who they play with.
Yep.
Right, and it could be it's happened a lot of times. So he's the one at the case where I believe, at junior. Remember, he was playing with who?
Like I just said, Nathan McKinnon. So I mean, I think though realistically, people look at him and his talent, and he's very, very talented.
Oh, yeah, of course. I don't want to diminish his skill.
He's totally capable of doing so much more. And I think what we saw was a few years ago, McKinnon took that next step when he had more responsibility. And they've tried to give this guy more responsibility, and he just does the same peewee moves. It's silly. He hasn't matured his game at all. He should work out with Sidney Crosby and McKinnon. Maybe he'd be a different person. Yeah.
But again, if you remember, his best season in Tampa was 53 points, 21 goals.
And he had 53 in Montreal.
Montreal, he came back with 46, 53. And last season, it was not bad. He had 15 points and 27 games. So we expect about another 50. So you're absolutely right when you mentioned he's a scorer about 20 goals, 55 points. He reached 60. Michael was a great year about that. And again, when you trade a player, it's not about you cannot compare or as the player versus the player. You need to see what the player brings to the team and the role he play and what he can contribute for the team to become better. And not to say Sergachev is better to Durant or Durant is better, Weber or Subban, and we can go all this fun trade. But I think you're absolutely right about your information about Jonathan Durant. He's going to be a 50, 55 point at 20 goal. And
he's going to be one of those 55-point players that is not really liked by the coach, though. Yeah. Like, he's just going to be in and out of the lineup, and he's going to waste a lot of opportunities that he creates and then destroys. It's just unfortunate. If he matured his game, he'd be a phenomenal player, even at 55 points. He's always going to a black hole without the puck. It's disappointing. But whatever. It is what it is. He's very talented.
Absolutely right. He was a draft in 2013, and you think about that. Before him, it was Markov and McKinnon. And after him, you remember Zed Jones, Lindholm, Moynihan, Darnell Nurse, Risto Lenin.
Wow. He took Jones. Holy crap. Isn't that crazy?
Then you can go after that, Nichushkin, Morin, Domi, Morissette, Wenberg, Polak, Zatorov, Lazar.
What a crazy draft.
Menta, Gauthier, Bereskovsky, Shea Theodore.
I mean, it's a very deep draft. And
Ryan Hartman.
I think that's the other, challenge is like Seth Jones was out pretty much rated number 1 for a long time. McKinnon, I think, was deserving of going 1, and so was Barkov at 2. And Seth Jones arguably could have been in either of those spots. So I think the challenge is, it cost a Seth Jones. And even Lindholm's turned out. Monahan's turned out probably shockingly the top goal scorer out of that whole thing.
Honestly, if you think about after Drouin, number 4 to number 9, Michael, you can put anybody in those players before Jonathan Drouin.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. So it's amazing when you think about that. So sometimes my point to you is like sometimes when you put a number pick versus a player, it could be a little bit,
Yeah. He is what he is. I mean, I think you see players that had a bigger impact. Like,
absolutely, I agree with you.
Even Lindholm turned it around when he went to Calgary. Like, that was a great
trade. But I think both teams win on that trade. We cannot give Carolina. You know what I mean? I think both win on those. Let's move on to breaking news number 2 on the NHL yesterday. It was with sadness to hear about Johnny Boychuk forced to play his end of this playing career in hockey with his injury happening in March last in 2020 against Montreal Canadiens, where he got 90 stitches on his face, and since that he struggled a lot with his health. He tried to come back during the playoff, and obviously, like he said yesterday, with his health is more important things. He have a difficult time to see properly.
Yeah,
and then
provisions messed
for
up.
him, if you remember Johnny Boychuk have a great story.
I agree.
You know what I mean? He came from the Colorado Avalanche, and then he went to Toronto, to Boston, and he did not make the team in Boston. He played in the AHL before he made the team, and then he won the Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins in 2011, and then he went to Islanders, New York. Man, my point to you is, he's a type of player. He's never give up, perseverance, work ethic, effort, dedication. You have a passion, and that's the only way you can make it. And you don't need to be, you're not born always to be McDavid or Crosby. Those guys have to fight every single day to become better. And he's a great example.
He's a great example because they wrote him off in Colorado. He was not progressing. He was 25 when he finally broke through.
Yes, that's my point here. And that's what I think we have to give him credit. And also, he's a great father. He's a great human being. If you know a little bit more about him, we have to give him credit for what he became. And, the money he makes, $6 million per year, what I think.
That'll help his team.
Yeah, he was a 61 overall pick in 2002, Michael. Think about it. 2000.
It's crazy. Like he was a late, he was drafted in the second round, and I think they expected a lot of him in Colorado, and he just it wasn't happening. And I think it was a bit of a revelation. Then he went to Boston, and 2 years into that, they won the cup. He was a hard-nosed defenseman with a big shot, and it just took like 7 years from drafted.
I agree with you. You know what it surprised me when I watched I make a video about him yesterday, and I watched him more. I get more deeper about him, everything. The guy played 104 game in playoff, Michael.
Yeah.
This is amazing me. Absolutely. This was like, wow. You play 100 game, you have to be a part of some great team.
Yeah, well, if you look, he had about 50, 60 games in Boston, I think. So, because he played 12, 22, 7, 25, and 13 in the playoffs with Boston. So that really added up. He had a 11-game stint with the Islanders and a 7-game stint, and then another 7.
79 game with the Boston Bruins.
Crazy, right?
25 with Islanders after that.
This shows you how good that team is.
Yeah, but again, those numbers show his perseverance, never give up, working hard, and everything is possible when you have the great mindset. And I think that's what he deserved. And he just bought a house in Long Island.
Oh, he did?
He's just not going to go nowhere. I want to stay around there, and you don't know what the future is for him. But I would not surprise this guy is going to be an assistant coach, still part of the.
I can see that.
Could work with the TV analyst, something like that. You're going to see Johnny Boychuk around the game.
I would agree. Yeah.
At some point, I can guarantee you that. This is who he is. That kind of person. And do you remember when he played junior or?
In the WHL, I'd never really. I remember, but I wasn't involved in the WHL then. It was a little long time ago.
Yeah, he was with the Calgary Hitmen.
Yeah.
Right. So after that, he went to the Moose Jaw Warriors, and then after that, he played with the Lowell Lock Monster, and then he went to Albany River Rats, and he played 2 years in Providence Browns. He was coached by Bruce Boudreau when
was it?
Yeah, Lowell is for one. Bruce Boudreau left the Mississippi Seawolves. he went to from East Coast Hockey League to the AHL.
Oh, got it.
That's another story about Bruce Boudreau. We can complain about him, his language, we do that, but talk about working hard, go from at the bottom from nowhere, start from almost like in the backyards and go grow all the ladder one step at a time and go to junior, to East Coast Hockey League, to American Hockey League, hanging there for years.
Forever. Like they never thought he'd get a chance. And
That's
when
right.
he did, he made good on it. Like he was again a late, comer to being in the NHL. But he's had a great career. He never could figure out the playoffs, unfortunately. But sometimes that's your approach and your preparation. So
talking about other news, let's go with and then maybe you can talk about this Team Canada.
Oh my God, I was so sad to see that. So we know that there was a couple coaches that were quarantined, but now the whole thing shut down. So it sounds like it might be 14 days.
It's 14 days now. They shut down everything, 14 days, everybody back. And there was the training camp was not in Edmonton. It was at the Red
Deer.
Yeah, exactly. 2 players got positive Monday. And finally, I'm pretty sure they got pressure and everything like that. And from the top, and then I'm pretty sure they said yesterday they have to go and they shut down everything and see what could happen. Listen,
what I don't understand is you can test everybody and know if they're positive or not. Like, just test the other people. Is everybody positive? No. Let them keep playing. You're blowing 14 days. Like, you're not helping anyone.
So here's the point about that part of that. First of all, you're absolutely right. I will give you my own case, and I'm far to be a Team Canada. I don't want to get this, but I will give you what happening to us. We have one kid got the positive COVID. Example, he practiced with all the team the Sunday, and then Monday night he got felt bad, and then he got Tuesday morning to the testing, he got negative. So before we return to the ring and before we get sure, everybody have to prove they are negative.
Right.
So we skipped Wednesday practice, 24 hours to see everybody and when everybody got accept, myself, I have to go. Thursday night, we go back to on the ice because everybody's negative. So why we have to wait 7 days or 14 days? It's not that. So your point is, and I have to go to the stadium and Miami Dolphin in the parking lot to do my negative test. So my point to you is they are testing every freaking day.
I know. It doesn't make sense.
And everything like that. So they can show up there and say, look, there are 47 players, maybe 52 people there, but you have only 42. They can be negative right now. Let's make them on the ice and let's practice.
It's ridiculous. Their approach to it is ridiculous. Like, if you're exposed to it, keep, test. If you have 2 consecutive negative tests, what's the difference?
Look, the NFL, you test. Who's good? You don't play this weekend. Let's move on. Let's go play with another guy. You know what I mean?
It's because the name Canada's on it, and Canada's overprotective.
That's what I said earlier. The pressure higher. You know what I mean? It's not like the coach, maybe not the manager. It's maybe come for the minister all the way to the top. And you know what I mean? Like I put, I'm pretty sure right now I can see that I'm going to be backslash the next couple of days, maybe today. I put a picture of my team yesterday. We did a scrimmage, my old players. We like the last year, we played a scrimmage for fun. And at the end, we make a picture for everybody, and then they said Happy Thanksgiving, right? And anybody wear a mask. Now, took me like 20 minutes after I put the picture, I have one parent say, hey, no mask, and you know what I mean? Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like
stupid.
We're going to have COVID for the rest of your life. And 20.
You're gonna wear a mask the rest of your life.
And 2046, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be alive.
By the way, COVID's not new.
But my point is,
coronavirus is not new. We've had this.
It's going to be the same thing in 10 years. So anyway, short story. It is what it is. I just want to mention that part over there.
I don't know. It's unfortunate what they're doing. But
yep. And before we breaking a couple of things before we move on, I just mentioned to you, Jack Hagel. He's very happy about the move.
Did we talk about the Sergachev contract?
I'm saying again?
Did we talk about the Sergachev contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, we already talked about it. Sorry. I blanked out for a second. I need to eat. I need breakfast.
Jack Hagel, very happy about the move the Buffalo Sabre did. So you have a quick talk about this. He should be, and he is happy.
I'm really impressed by what the GM's done. I mean, he's been moved aggressively, and that should be
right. I think the words aggressive or go on the offense is really what they are right now. He did not wait. He moved on. I think we don't give a lot of credit for Gorger. I think he's a really good coach.
He's a great coach.
What will happen next year? But in fact, the last news before we move to my flashback, NHL flashback, I want to talk about Pietrangelo. Talk very well about maybe Parenko as maybe defense number one. So I would like to know, tell us a little bit more about Parenko and what kind of players and how you see about him.
I really like him, but I don't know if he's that type of D. He's big. He sees the ice well. He thinks well. He can shoot the puck. He's kind of a heavy skater, though. Now, I think because of his reach and his size, he doesn't get burned a lot. It's really tough to get around him, and he's a very good one-on-one player. And he's a little bit mean. He's really big. I mean, he's like 6'6" or something, like 230. So he's not a small guy. So he kind of compensates for the foot speed. However, he does have problems with foot speed, but he can play on the power play and he can kill penalties. Like I know a lot of teams, he might be a number 2. I think he's better than Justin Falk.
Definitely. I think we don't give him enough credit. He's a guy play 25 minutes, Michael, per game, 26 minutes sometime. Play behind a guy like Pietrangelo. Don't give maybe credits all the time who you are.
Yeah, and I think Alex shows you he's an interesting person. Like, I think this may rub people the wrong way sometimes. Like, he's a very opinionated, outspoken person, and he's always sizing things up. He's got that thing about him, and it's interesting. He comes out and he says, "Hey, they're going to be fine with this guy." Like, they give him more responsibility. So Alex is a special player. I'll never understand why they didn't give him whatever he wanted. If it's his personality you don't like, then that's a mistake, because that guy's a leader in the end. I mean.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right about that. And I think
Vegas might win the cup with him. I never thought Vegas would win the cup, but he's the type of guy that can go in and will that team to win.
Sometimes it's not only about the ice, it's about characters, about what you bring around. I think he's a prototype of the guy like Larry Robinson or Zeno Terra, all the kind of stuff where they bring more. We have to give him also. Shea Weber never won the Stanley Cup, but he's always been a great leader, a great guy inside the locker room and everything like that. So I think he has the kind of player Pietrangelo, he wore a C he wore a C for one reason, right?
Absolutely. Like, Alex, from a very young age, my exposure to him, I never got to coach him, but we took that team after he left.
Okay.
With the Toronto Junior Canadians, but Tyler Craig coached him. He moved up his 15-year-old draft year. He moved up to play with the midgets, and they went to a TELUS Cup, and he was just phenomenal then. And he's just always what he is. And he played for Mary Chiquilo and Greg Gilbert, who I know well, at the Mississauga Ice Dogs, which I think even Niagara. I moved to Niagara at that point too. And he was just always like. He had a confidence about him, and he's very outspoken, and he's a very rare person and a player, like, big guy with such good talent, and he's confident in his talent.
Yeah,
that's I don't see Torrey Krug smashed together with Justin Falk don't add up to what Alex Pietrangelo brings.
Wow, that's all right. I agree with you about that one. Talking about Shara, I want to mention to you something where. I think you said this yesterday, or maybe me. I know we talked about this, but we was right about the Boston Bruins UFA defenseman Zero Chara is waiting on the format of the 2021 season before he decides if his next step according to his agent.
Makes sense.
Absolutely right about that one over there. With the signature of Jake Dubrus, that leaves the Bruins now just over $3.5 million in salary cap space. I didn't know that.
I mean, they have a lot of older guys, but
But I was expect more. I thought they could sign another guy, a big guy, $5-6 million, but not the case anymore. Without Sharas, Sharas is back. I think he's going to be back at maybe 1.5 million. Right?
Maybe a couple mil just for sake, but he's, they don't have a lot of money. So I don't know how they would have kept Torrey Krug.
Yeah. We'll see what happened over there. I just mentioned this to you. It was the news there. But now it's time to go there. It's time for you to tell us a little bit more about what's going on. Let me check something like that. Oh, we didn't mention, I want to mention this to you, happening yesterday late. Philip Kemp from the signed with Edmonton Oilers signed an entry-level deal yesterday. Philip Kemp first, was an overall pick NHL draft by the Oilers Edmonton. Just want to mention this to you, but it's time for you to Michael Devellano expert. Here we go, Michael. It's time for the quiz of the day with you with an NHL flashback.
Oh, okay.
We like to do every single day. So I'm glad you know about this now. Here we go. On this date, 2018, he played his 10600 game career in NHL. 1,600 games, 1,600 games in NHL 2018.
Thornton or Marlowe? No, probably Chara.
No, you nail it. Number 2.
Yeah, because those are the only guys old enough to play that.
That's great. Now it's good. On this date in 2018, the same day what Marlowe played his 1,600, one GM got fired. Who is he?
In what year?
2018.
Oh, geez.
It's only 2 years ago.
The only guy that comes to mind is Paul Fenton, but who else would have got fired in the middle of the year?
He's an ex-goaltender.
Ex-goaltender. Which team was it from?
If I said the team, that's number 3.
Ron Hextall.
Ron Hextall, yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible.
On this date, in 2005, the Capitol and the New York Rangers went to a 15-round shootout.
Wow.
And it was with who scored?
Marek Marincin?
Marek Malik.
How do you pronounce his last name?
Malik,
yeah, and he did the between the legs.
Yep.
I was the only goal he scored all year, probably.
Yep. And 1983 set an NHL record with his 17-game assist streak.
Wow.
1983.
I mean, I would think it's Gretzky.
It's Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
I did not know this morning, but in 1925, the Pittsburgh and the New York officially joined the NHL. My question to you is, what is their nickname? Pittsburgh and New York.
Oh my God, I probably would have known this before. Jeez, what was Pittsburgh? And what was New York? I can't remember. I would have known this if you asked me 20 years ago.
The New York American.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
And this one, I did not know that. But
it was like the Wolfgang or a Wolf. It was like
Pittsburgh Pirates.
Pirates, that's what it was. It was like the baseball team.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think it was the same owner.
In 1997, and Brian Murray, first game as a coach in Florida Panthers, the team set a team record by scoring how many games in the win over the Boston Bruins? How many goals they score?
8?
10.
10.
10. That's a welcome, Mr. Brand Murray. And
We're so happy to not have Roger Nielsen clamping them down.
In 1997, the Washington Cap played their final game at the U.S. Air Arena. Also retired a jersey. Who is he?
Rod Langway?
You got it. Good job. Did not know you know that one. And in 1991, he became the captain of the Hartford Whalers.
91?
91.
I mean, I would. Trying to think. So that by then Francis was gone, right? So he was already gone. What's that?
1991.
Yeah, because Francis was traded to Pittsburgh, right, for John Cullen.
Yep.
Who would have the captain have been after that in 91? Maybe Chris Pronger? No, he's too early then.
All right, let's move on. Randy Ladouceur.
He was the captain?
Yep.
I
know. On this date in 2003, the New Jersey Devils, I should not tell you, but I will tell you now.
What year?
2003.
Okay.
Play is 1,616 game in NHL, breaking the record of Larry Murphy for defensemen.
For New Jersey?
Yep. Or it's for the NHL.
Oh.
Play with New Jersey in 2003.
Scott Stevens?
Yep.
Okay.
When I said New Jersey, it was more easier, but I will give it to you. And 1984, this player from Montreal Canadiens announced his retirement.
1984. Guy Lafleur.
Guy Lafleur. In 1972, the goaltender was born in Peace River, Alberta, from Detroit Red Wings.
I mean, I would say Chris Osgood, but I don't. From Detroit, in Peace River, Alberta, 1972.
Yep.
Like current goaltender or past?
Yeah, goaltender, not current, no. Not current.
I didn't think Chris Osgood was from out west, though, but I guess he is. Chris Osgood.
Chris Osgood. 1961, he became the first player in NHL history to play 1,000 game regular season game.
Wait, sorry, what year was that?
1961.
Oh, geez. And he was the first to play 1,000 games?
Yep.
Stan Mikita?
Nope.
Gordie Howe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like it was the last one of the day. So thank you so much, Michael. You did pretty good today. Here we go. It was an NHL flashback quiz with Michael Devellano. Today we have to go back now on the preview NHL 31 on 31 days with 31 different teams. And today, I believe if we have to go from the West Coast Canadian side, Vancouver Canucks.
So I think we were all really impressed with how these guys played in the playoffs. I will say, though, going through their current lineup and what's gone on in the offseason, I'm a little concerned about some stuff. Not majorly, but a little bit. They have some stuff to think about. So, the Travis Green, Jim Menninger has actually been pretty good. I think they're ahead of where anyone would have anticipated. But what we saw in the offseason, it's kind of tough to project if this won't affect them. The loss of Jacob Markstrom and Chris Tanev to Calgary. Tanev is very underrated. They do replace them with Nate Schmidt, who's probably better than Tanev, and Holtby, who is not as good as Markstrom, but should be serviceable. And hopefully he's in shape and he can play up to a certain level. We know Toffoli was only there for a short time, but he would have been a good fit. He goes to Montreal. Troy Stetcher, we saw in the playoffs, he's a depth defenseman, so that hurts him a little bit. I'm a little surprised at that, and I was also a little surprised they didn't keep Josh Levio, because for what they pay him and the goals he scored, it might be interesting to see who's going to replace that. Now, we know this team is all about the young stars, and I'll put one more here, which is Bo Horvat and even Besser. So they've got some really good young players. They brought in some pieces. The big story in the playoffs was when Thatcher Demko came in for an injured Jacob Markstrom, and he went on a crazy streak and kept them in the playoffs. So I think what we see is a 24-year-old, 25-year-old goalie that he's got his reps in as a backup. I always thought he was going to be a starter in the NHL. He's a very good goalie. I mean, so now he's going to have to prove it in a full season. Now, it's nice that he has Holtby to back him up, because Holtby's won a cup and he's been around the bend. So I think that'll work out fairly well. They have a couple prospects. They're projecting that Levy will be on the team. This has been a guy that was a high draft pick, not worked out for them at all the way they planned. He's made slow progress. I think they're putting an asterisk around that because they need someone to step up and play, and he's got a lot of games in the AHL and a little bit overseas. Niels Hoglander, I think we talked about him before, is a really good Swedish prospect who can score goals. And Vasily Podkolzin, he is a very interesting prospect. He can score a little bit. He's got a lot of grit to his game, and he's a good leader. So this is an interesting player for them if they can get him over here. I don't know if it's going to be now or a year from now, but at some point, this guy's totally capable of filling in a top 6 role. So it'll be interesting to see how long that takes, because he's playing in the KHL. If you look, Michael Ferland, I have a question mark around, because I'm not clear on if he looks like he's still on the injured reserve, and I don't know how long he'll be on there. This is a big, tough guy that can score goals that came over from Calgary, and he would be really useful in the lineup right now. We'll see what happens. I hope he comes back, but I don't know what the status there is. I don't know if you know, Pierre.
Who?
Michael Ferland?
Not really.
No.
Oh, Michael Ferland? Oh, yeah. He's, like you said, his injury right now. We're not sure what could happen now with the back, and see if he's possibly.
I haven't heard any updates. So we know in the offseason they also re-signed Jake Virtanen, who has turned out to be a pretty good power forward prospect. Although in the playoffs, I didn't think that he was getting top ice time. So that was a little bit interesting. JT Miller has been an absolute revelation for them. His career has totally blossomed playing with Peterson, playing center, very versatile offensive player. He contributes big-time minutes and big-time points to this team. Peterson, we know, is an elite player and arguably was probably the best player in his draft year. He went fifth overall, I think. Was it fifth? I think it was fifth. Because that was the Nico Hischier year, wasn't it?
Yep.
Just take a quick look. Fifth overall in the 2017 draft. And that, so guys that he went after: Cale Makar, Miro Heiskanen, Nolan Patrick, Nico Hischier. So they're all good players, but arguably he's probably the best of all of them right now. So they totally scored on this. Great talent evaluation. Miller, Peterson, Virtanen, Besser, Horvat, and Pearson. Arguably, that top 6 is probably in the top third of the league. They probably, goal scoring wise, are right up there with most other teams. There's not too many that are going to be ahead of them. When you go to the third and the fourth line, they have good depth, annoying players. On this one, they've shown Brandon Sutter twice, but I think what's missing here is Louis Eriksson. Louis Eriksson's just an absolute bomb on their cap, the most expensive forward currently, and not, at his best. He was a really good player in the past, but, hopefully he can carve out a third-line role for them next year. They really need him to at least be a 10 or a 15 goal scorer. And for the money, you'd expect him to be a 20, but he just seems to be over that at this point. So there's a little bit of concern there when you start breaking down the numbers. We know Quinn Hughes is an absolute star defenseman. Nate Schmidt will complement him very well. Alexander Edler is an excellent defenseman, top 20 in the NHL probably. Tyler Myers is an excellent, big defenseman that was a great addition. We know Jordy Ben's solid. Yule Levy's a question mark, and they don't have a lot of depth after that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on D. You could see where they might try to bring in a few guys, but they don't have any cap room. So it's going to be a little strange. We see the Holt-Demko combination, I think, will work out quite well. I'll point out that this year they did not have a first or a second round draft pick. So they go to basically the third round before they picked in this year's draft. Last year, they got two very good players, though. So getting Podkolzin and getting Hoglander in last year's draft, those are arguably two players that will play in the NHL. Quinn Hughes the year before, we know, has turned out better than most players ahead of him. Jet Wu has a potential, but I'm not so sure. And I think they traded away Tyler Madden to Los Angeles. Peterson, absolute steal in 2017. I'm not sure Cole Lind, where he's at in his development. Michael DiPietro has potential to play in the NHL, maybe as a backup, I think. And then we see Yule Levy down here, and he hasn't really made it through. But overall, pretty good, talent evaluation and batting average. Brock Besser was a very good pick. He's a regular contributor. So they've built this team through the draft. Virtanen, we know they moved Jared McCann, and he's a very good player in Pittsburgh. And Thatcher Demko is, their number one goalie. And then you see Bo Horvat, who famously came over, traded for Corey Schneider. There's a lot of controversy about that at the time, but that's really paid dividends for them. Hunter Shinkaruk was kind of, an unfortunate. They thought that he might, I don't know. I think we all thought Hunter Shinkaruk would carve out a role somewhere, but he hasn't really panned out. So overall, and between Benning era and the prior era, which was the agent whose name has escaped me, Paul Gillis, they've done a pretty good job of bringing in talent and having them play in the NHL. Adam Gaudette's a late pick that's made it as well.
I think the biggest problem they got, it was like the draft in 2016 with number 5, Oli Joel.
Yeah, Levy, because that was a very good draft year, and he's one of the you get. But he has made progress, but he's not going to be the defenseman they hoped. But I think they're looking at him as a 5'6". If he can play 5'6", I think they'll be happy. But he hasn't played a single game in the NHL. But they don't. If the problem is they don't have depth. So last year he had a pretty good year in the AHL. He had 25 points in 45 games. He's 22 years old. So you got to think, okay, he's not like super over the hill, but something's got to happen because he's a lot worse defensively than he should be.
He should be there right now.
He should be there, but if it's funny because the player that drafted ahead of him was Jesse Puljujärvi. So Puljujärvi and Yule Levy, two Finn players, didn't really work out too well. Matthew Tkachuk was picked after him. Clayton Keller picked after him. Sergachev picked after him. So McAvoy picked after him. Chychrun picked after him. Like, there's just a lot of guys that have made a big impact.
But no, you cannot give up on him. He's only 22 years old.
He's only 22. He's not going to be a number 1 or a 2 defenseman like you hoped, but maybe he can be a 5'6".
But again, look about what they have. They don't need him like a number 4, 3, or 2. No. They have already Eller. We know he's 34% the defenseman. We have Tyler Myers. We know what he can bring. He's 30 years old. They just got Nate Schmidt, where I believe we don't give him enough credit whatsoever. Very good. And then you have also Quinn Hughes there. So they have the top 3 there, solid. And they have, you said Johnny Benn is not, like he's a defenseman house. He will pick up some PK time. He will help you there. So they don't need like someone like, oh my God, he needs to carry on the puck. He needs to do that. So I believe this kid, he can bring slowly the old with the Canucks at some point.
They need him now because they don't have anything. So after that top 4 or 5, like they need someone to at least be a 6. And they have nobody that can fill that role right now.
I agree with you. You put him there. That's one.
Either they're going to have to make some. I mean, I think they have to make a move anyway. I can't see how they're going to get away without making some sort of a low-end move to get another defenseman. Like, I don't know who Jack Rapp is. So on the cap, Louis Eriksson is an absolute painful, but that contract's going to go away pretty soon. They hope that he can play a third line role, but I don't think they're too worried about it. Michael Ferland would be.
Go.
What's that?
You have still 2 more years to go.
Yeah, which is not too bad because the way I look at it, you're gonna have a COVID shortened season. They'll partial pay him, and then they can make a decision: do they live with it one more year or they buy it out? It's not like it's 6 more years, so thank God for that.
But again, if you think about this, right? Erickson, $6 million, red flag. Then
For
you have to pay Brandon Sutter.
But he's going next year.
Or at least 1 year, but still a red flag over there. Then Michael Ferland, $3.5 million. That's a lot of money there.
It wouldn't be a lot if he was healthy because he's a 15, 20 goal scorer and he's tough as nails.
Why you did not put Bryce Chi over there on your lineup?
Barchi was in the AHL all year and they're trying to dump him, but nobody wants him.
But he said $3 million. Antoine Roussel, $3 million. Big goal.
But he's not going to play.
You still have a lot of players. He just gave me 5 players right there, over $3 million. That's a lot of
crazy. Now, I think they're just going to ride it out, Pierre. Like, if you look at Barchi, like he played in Utica all last year. He played 6 games.
Well, how you can you have to pay them this year?
Yeah, they're going to have to. But they'll bury the contract, but they can't bury it all. He's a younger guy, but this is the guy that I don't know if you know the story of him, but he, along with Nino Niederreiter, played at the Portland Winterhawks and were highly touted. And there's just something weird about their attitude and their preparation.
He's never been like a 30 point. My point here is that they gave again.
He's a talented player though. Like, he had 15, 18, 14 goals. Like he can play, but it's something else going on. He can't get. You know what? If he turned out this year and could play, like they need either him or Erickson to do something, or they need a miracle with Michael Ferland. Like Michael Ferland, you would love in your lineup. Like he's
the key right now here.
Yeah, if you can have Michael Ferland, and I forgot they have Jay Beagle still, so he's not even showed up on that roster. So that helps them. They're a little bit better. Like if you project, you've got Beagle.
But again, he scored 2-3 goals per year, but he's defensively played well in the playoff last season. I think for him right now, they need to be sure Jake Virtanen, he become the scorer of 25 goals per year, the rookie with that part there. It's not bad. But again, like this
in a year though, you got to think this is where I look, is this year is going to be a write-off, and everyone's going to get 50 to 70% of their money. And then you look at next year, and Sutter's contract goes away. You've only got 1 more year on Erickson's contract. Tanner Pearson's contract goes away. Barchi's contract goes away. The guy you got to re-sign is Peterson, and we know he's going to get big money. So the timing should be okay. Edler, will he keep playing? He's 34. He's going year to year.
He's good.
He's good, but he may not keep playing. You never know, right? Like he's getting.
The only thing, he would not deserve $6 million.
Yeah, he'll come down, right? Although they just re-signed him, but it's 1 year, so it's perfect, right? Like, I think they'll have to do something. And Quinn Hughes, it's interesting, is a 10.2, so he doesn't have arbitration rights.
But again, I think they would give him money for him, a big contract like Sergachev.
Yeah, totally. Oh, maybe more. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, man. But the funny thing about this, they still pay Roberto Luongo.
I know. Roberto Luongo's on the forever plan.
$3 million. That's a lot of money, Michael, on your salary cap.
Yeah. So now you can see, like, some of that was Paul Gillis, some of that's Benning, but I think in the end, they're paying Ryan Spooner $1 million. Jeez. How much are they paying Luongo? Jeez, $3 million for 2 years. Yep. So you got to think they're going to ride it out with some of this, but they should be in okay shape. They're going to have issues with depth, though, pretty quick. So they got to figure it out. Now that means they got to get Hoglander and Podkolzin over on their entry-level deals sooner than later. So the timing might be okay.
My question to you, because we know we are already at the most of this show, is are the Vancouver Canucks going to make the playoff?
It's a really good question because if you do the math, it's a little weird.
Absolutely. I agree with you. before we do that exercise, I will give you 80%. I would say yes.
When you watch them, you got to think they're going to make it.
No more. I'm looking.
But when you look at the math, it's scary.
I agree with you. You're absolutely right, Michael. You're absolutely right. It's scary. This.
It could go either way. Like they could get 88 to 92 points and not make the playoffs.
And the draft 2020 is going to hurt them in the next 5 years at some point because they don't get anybody from the round number one,
Maybe, but, I think what they think is last year they had they had a second round pick that dropped from the first. That's very good. Like Hoglander and Podkolzin will both play. So I think what you got to project is you go, okay, Eriksson goes away, Pearson goes away. You got to re-sign Peterson. You're going to insert a Podkolzin. You're going to insert a Hoglander. You should be okay.
One of the reasons why happening is they lost Markstrom and Tanev is the reason the money situation salary cap.
Yeah, well, I mean, Schmidt I think Schmidt's probably an upgrade over Tanev. Holtby's a downgrade from Markstrom, obviously. But, Thatcher Demko is very capable goalie, so it should work out. I think the bigger concern for me is, they didn't re-sign Toffoli. They didn't keep a cheap player who can score in Levio. It's kind of weird to me, I don't know. We'll see.
The third line is not the league.
What's that?
The third line is not strong like the rest of the league.
Good.
I mean,
it's not good at all. And neither's it's just below average or average. You're really projecting. If Eriksson can carve out something there, or maybe they get Podkolzin, maybe they get Hoglander to come over early. I don't know. Podkolzin's probably ready. But I don't know his situation. I think he has one more year in the KHL. So
if you think about this right now, you know what I mean? It's
questionable. What they need is another D. They need another D and they need another scoring forward, maybe.
I would not be worried about D. I would be more worried about the bottom six.
I'm concerned because they have no depth on D. The top four is very good. And Ben's serviceable, but they honestly need, Levy, if he can play, great. But he's not played he hasn't played one NHL game.
But I'm not worried about this because Hughes can play 28 minutes.
Well, what if he gets hurt again?
Schmidt can play 25 and plus minutes.
But what if Hughes? Hughes
of course, but if we can go all the way. But my biggest concern me is you take Russell or put Tyler Mott before Russell if you want to, and then you can move Sutter with Godet, right? And you can go make a win with Eriksson. You can flip flop.
Yeah.
Or maybe one of the worst in the NHL or about bottom six.
I don't know if it's that bad. I think it's just from a goal scoring point of view, it's going to be by committee. They do have a lot of pieces. Jay Beagle can play. He's not going to get you offense. Michael Ferland, if he's healthy, is going to get you offense. Barchi, if they played him, could get you offense, but they seem to have no interest in that. They're going to put him back in the AHL or dump him or something. Louis Eriksson's fallen off the face of the planet. He went from being a perennial 25, 30 goal scorer. He's just old now. So I don't know. They need something. The ideal scenario would be Ferland's healthy and they bring a Podkolzin.
I don't say
another D really
Taylor Peterson, you give him 35 goal, then Verdanen, and then Brozer and Ovat and Pearson, right? And maybe Hughes and Schmidt, and then Obi have to become a little bit better what he is.
Yeah,
that team will be fine, but you don't have a lot of you can have a lot of mistakes, errors,
you
have to perform. If they don't, of them don't do that, nobody can pick it up there. So you know what? Go on.
You know what's funny, Pierre? I'm just looking. Adam Gaudette in 59 games had 33 points and 12 goals, and he was 22. So maybe we're underestimating. I think 11 goals is probably the right number, but maybe he's got a little bit of upside. Maybe they know that because he went from
he scored 12 goals.
What's that?
Yeah, he scored 12 goals.
but he in 50 some odd games. So if
I go right
down, and he had 5 the year before, so maybe he's got a little
in playoff.
Listen, I think it's a risk. I think they might not make the playoffs.
No, but he has 0-point playoff in 10 games.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, the guy we saw in the playoffs that played very well was Tyler Mott.
Yeah,
I mean, he was like
good. 1 game score. But again, I think, like you said,
it's a little weird.
I would not put a lot of money on this for playoff.
No.
I mean, the only thing is good for them is depend the division. It's Anaheim is not great. Los Angeles is not great. The San Jose is not great. So they have to compete against Vegas, right? You have to compete against Vegas.
Oh, well, Vegas is going to rock.
Right? So
although you look at what they did in the playoffs, and they were very difficult to knock out. Like, they were a very good team.
Yeah, but now you have a better team. Like, put that Nev there and put Max Strom there. That changed completely a bit their
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
No. Because I think Schmidt is an upgrade over Tanev. I think Demko has shown that he's an excellent goalie. He's got to do it over time, but he came in a pressure situation. He stole 2 games. Like, they were done.
Yeah, but they have other players. Toffoli.
They need someone like a Toffoli type guy to come
in. Was there.
What's that?
Toffoli was there.
They're missing a Toffoli. They're missing probably some depth on D. But in the bottom, I don't know. I think it's risky.
Yeah, totally right with you. I think it's really risky. I'm not going to predict yet. I can wait to see our power ranking there, but it's going to be very interesting. So I had a great show today, Mike. It's like, love it. I love the fact we go all the way, and it's going to be an amazing, great Thursday for everybody. We just wish you happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Take that time of the day to be with your friends, your family. That's how it's about. Don't let COVID make you down. We're going to go through all the way if we all sit together. Keep your faith. Be safe. And we're going to be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Take vitamin D.
Yeah, I'm going to go out now. It's a beach day in Florida. Beautiful.
Go outside.
It's 81 today. We have to be blessed and be grateful. I heard like you have some football game around, but I don't know what you are talking about. So
awesome.
Have a great day, everybody. I will see you, all of you, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks, Michael.